Welcome to the Bodhi Academy. My name is Shrutika, and today let us continue with the third part of our lesson, respiration in organisms. So in our first two parts we have learned the meaning of respiration, then which are the types of respiration, that is aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Then we have also covered what is breathing, and yes, so this were the things which we have covered in our last part. So today what we are going to see is how the mechanism of breathing happens, as in how breathing takes place. So what is breathing? We know that from our previous classes that breathing is basically a process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide, that is inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. So what happens during the inhaling of that oxygen? So look at over here. So these are the diagram wherein this is how during inhaling what happens, and during exhaling how the human respiratory system changes, as in what is the mechanism of inhaling and exhaling, as in what happens to the lungs and the ribs while we inhale air and when we exhale air. So we will see it today. So breathing in or inhalation. So during inhalation what happens? When we breathe in or inhale, two processes occurs together, that is muscles between the rib contracts, causing the ribcage to move upward and outward, while the diaphragm contracts and move downwards. This upward and downward movement of ribcage and diaphragm respectively increases the space in the chest cavity and makes it large. As the chest cavity becomes large, it sucks air from outside the lungs, and lungs get filled with air and expands. So basically when we take in air, so when air is taken in, what happens is the rib cage moves like this, as in our chest, this thing increases. Okay, that means the lungs get filled with what? Filled with oxygen. Okay, so this is how and the diaphragm also moves down like this. So this is how our during inhalation how our this respiratory system changes. Now let us see during exhalation what happens. So during exhalation, when we breathe out or exhale, the reverse process takes place. That is, the muscles of the rib releases, causing the rib cage to move downwards and inwards, while diaphragm releases and moves upwards. This downward movement of the rib cage and upward movement of the diaphragm increases the area space in our chest cavity and makes it smaller. When the chest cavity becomes smaller, the air is pushed out of the lungs. So as the cavity becomes smaller, see, when we give out carbon dioxide, what happens is our the size of the chest will decrease, and then it will give space for the carbon dioxide which is there in our lungs. It will give that space to the carbon dioxide to come out of the chest. So this is how the mechanism of breathing takes place in human beings. So now let us see how other organisms breathe. And now we have seen how human beings breathe, or whatever we have also learned how the respiratory system helps in the process of respiration in human beings. Now let us see how other animals, how breathing in other animals happens. So different animal possesses different organs for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Animals such as elephants, lions, cows, goats, lizards, frogs, snakes, birds have lungs in the chest cavity like humans for respiration. So all these organisms have a respiratory system wherein that respiratory system helps in the process of breathing. But what about the small animals like cockroaches, earthworms, fishes, ants, and mosquitoes? They do not have lungs. So therefore, respiration in these animals takes place by other means. So now let us see which are the other means of respiration in such organisms. So first organism is cockroach. So let us see how respiration takes place in cockroach. So cockroach has a small opening on the sides of its body. Other insects also have similar openings, and these openings are called as spiracles. So spiracles are basically small openings on the body. So they on their body they will have small openings called as the spiracles. Okay. Also, insects have a network of air tubes called tracheas for exchange of gases. Oxygen-rich air rushes through the spiracles into the tracheal tubes, diffuses into the body tissue and reaches every cell of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the other cells into the tracheal tubes and move out of the spiracle. So these air tubes or tracheas are found only in insects and not in any other group of animals. So insects breathe through a trachea. So like we have our respiratory system, the insects will have tracheas. So spiracles are the openings through which the air will come in and the carbon dioxide will go out, and these spiracles then supply that air to the trachea, in which trachea will help in supplying the tracheal tubes, which will then supply the oxygen and remove the carbon dioxide from the body of the insect. So this is how respiration takes place in insects such as cockroaches. Now let us see respiration in earthworm. So basically in earthworms the respiration takes place through their skin. So basically gases. So earthworms basically their skin is very porous and they can breathe through their skin. The skin is the skin of the earthworm feels moist and slimy on touching. This is because of the exchange of gases is taking place through their skin. So basically earthworms breathe through their skin. And what about fishes? Fishes on the other hand have specialized organs called as the gills. So these are the gills of fishes. So what gills do is they will help in when the water comes into the body of the fish, there is dissolved oxygen in the water. The gills, what it will do is it is extensively supplied with blood vessels, and that helps in exchange of gases in fishes. So this is how respiration takes place in fishes through gills. So now what about the plants? So now let us see how plants respire. So respiration in plants. So first, respiration in plant takes place through what? Leaves. So the leaves of the plant have tiny pores or on their surface called as stomata. So leaf basically consists of tiny openings called as the stomata. Stomata helps in exchange of giving out oxygen and taking in carbon dioxide during the respiration process. So the oxygen from air enters into the leaf through the stomata and reaches inside all the cells of the carbon dioxide is taken in through the stomata and then it reaches and diffuses into the cells, and during respiration also diffuses from the leaf to the atmosphere through the stomata. So taking in of what? Carbon dioxide and giving out of oxygen. This takes place in the stomata, and stomata helps in what? The exchange of gases in plants. So this is how respiration takes place. This is how respiration is taking place in plant through leaves. And now let us see how respiration is taking place in plants through roots. So root cells of plants respire under the ground. They also need oxygen to carry out respiration and release energy for their own use. Root cells get oxygen from the air present in the space between the soil particles. And plant roots have large number of tiny hair on their surface, which is called as the root hair. Oxygen from the air present in the particles of the soil diffuses into the hair and reaches the cells of the root, where it is utilized for the process of respiration. So basically, see, this is the root. These are the soil particles. Okay, soil particles have some intercellular spaces which are filled with are gases such as oxygen, carbon dioxide. All these gases are present. So root consists of what? Root hairs. So if this is a plant, these are the roots. So there will be a main root, and then it will have hairs, the root hairs. So these root hairs will go into the soil, and from the intercellular spaces of the soil particles, the root hair will take in the gases, that is carbon dioxide, oxygen, and this is how the roots will help in the process of respiration. So in our today's video, we have learned about how breathing mechanism takes place in human beings, how it is taking place in other organisms such as cockroach, earthworms, and fishes. We have also seen how respiration takes place in plants through leaves and roots. So thank you for watching today's video. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe.